present here a work in progress, loosely as a diary or a travelogue. The work in question, of yet, has no stable name, alternating between two working titles, Broken Solar and Syzygy. Broken Solar fits the construction of objects for filming in the studio, while Syzygy suits filming outdoors in a more documentary capacity in the field. The name Syzygy means yoked to the sun. Syzygy can be traced to the Greek Syzygos, yoked together, syn for with and zygon for yoke. Kept intact as long takes, video is presented here in the form of dailies, undigested and largely unedited. The term dailies feels relevant in studying objects that translate sunlight, linking the sun with the process of video making, which is another means of keeping time through rhythms of light and dark. Light falls on the cutting room floor. Where it begins. A few years ago, I began buying fragments of broken and discarded solar cells. The shattered leftovers from solar installations on houses. These silicon shards are sold by the pound and delivered unceremoniously in heaps held by plastic bags. It occurred to me that the fragments could be rejoined as a mosaic that is still able to convert light into electricity. Reconstituted, messy solar panels, pieced together from broken bits, disobey the grid and are in many respects impractical, yet somehow beautiful. These reconstituted shards of crystalline silicon evoke scarcity, inactive recycling made necessary by loss and destruction. The broken mosaics convey voltage while acting as a reminder of the violence of mining rare earth minerals, joined with the relative ease embodied by holding a surface up to the sun. Light, there it is. Take it. The shards of solar cells evoked open questions. In the future, will spacecraft continue to look tidy, symmetrical, modular, and well-crafted? Or will space architecture become more or less haphazard, individual, built from scavenged or recycled materials, as institutional support and natural resources disappear? The solar cell is common to private homes, solar farms, and satellites, serving as a ready suggestion that the Earth provides everything we need to survive, yet our homes may someday need to be relocated elsewhere in the solar system. Within the frame, there are rules. Because the sun keeps moving, the camera must always be in motion. And this motion should be inhumanly precise, robotic, like a celestial timer. While filming at various solar farms in Arizona and Biosphere 2, I found that the photocell of my video camera often rejected the classical, clean, modular arrangements of solar cells that in person dazzle the naked eye. Distant wide shots became difficult due to dramatic aliasing and loss of clarity. Perhaps I should not be telling this to an audience, a story of a very specific technical failure. But it seems noteworthy that a video camera's inability to cleanly translate translate solar cells into images of solar cells via a photocell in the back of the camera. Demonstrates that the video camera somehow rejects itself, refusing to review or capture subjects that are too similar to Euclidean. Minimalism and video are often at odds. As inorganic, two-dimensional Euclidean lines and grids are prone to alias and pulse, especially when in motion. One grid imposed on another causes restlessness among pixels. Digital aliasing feels to me much like human indecision, or a kind of panic when confronted with difference, or existential chafing with binary definitions. Thank you. Or the desire to occupy more than one space at once. When pixels flash rapidly back and forth between light and dark, it suggests uncertainty of where a line or a body begins or ends, a problem of individuation or defining the relationship between self and other. Video is a Euclidean space, but I've found that it does not like Euclidean subjects. I've often felt that the video camera expresses a desire toward human subjects, plants, and spherical or hyperbolic forms. These things capture beautifully, without resistance. But turn a video camera toward a subject similar to itself, grids or lines, and you'll be confronted with a loss of clarity, a jumbling of lines and color and time. Perhaps this suggests the narcissism of the human designers and consumers, desiring an alien eye through which to better record and examine themselves. But it also feels like a kind of Euclidean self-hatred, a two-dimensional line's desire to become organic, to become three-dimensional, Gaussian, or hyperbolic. Video is a self-hating medium. There is always the desire for higher and higher resolution. One moment, we'll come back to that guy. A desire to no longer see pixels and to forget the grid upon which everything relies. When I make videos, people often call them films, perhaps fearing it will denigrate the work to call it video. But they are not films. They are, in fact, videos. They are self-hating digital pixels. Looking somewhat jealously and skeptically toward the dithery, Gaussian properties of film that would perhaps capture Euclidean geometry effortlessly. Can video capture itself? More importantly, can a video believe in itself? I'm reminded of a question posed in Ulrika Ottinger's film, Freak Orlando. As a goddess, do you believe in God? feel it is necessary for video to attempt to look at itself and to consume itself, even if the result is a hallucinatory failure that gives back optical illusions existing only in video space, rather than finding the places where video images and the external world intersect or nest inside each other. The subject, solar cells, the capturing device, a photocell of a video camera, and the playback device, a monitor or projector or array, are all involved in a volley of information delivered alternately as light, electricity, or a collection of zeros and ones. This mirrors the process of eating the sun and converting light into electricity or heat, a process that can move in either direction, forward or backward. Light is radiation. Radiation is information. The process of filming solar panels, inputting light to camera, converting to digital signal, and outputting once again to light, is not a Mobius strip or a perfect Ouroboros. There is loss. There is always loss. Rather than a snake eating its own tail, the process is more a snake eating another snake to become a new snake. Filming in the Sonoran Desert, there was the question of sweat and what to do with it, and also the selection of the right snake to become production assistant. Working in the most extreme desert sun, it is necessary to recycle sweat by wearing long sleeves and long pants on the hottest of days, to reserve some sweat inside your garment, to be reabsorbed by the body. It is akin to creating another skin atop your skin, so that the output becomes input, becomes output, or else the subject will dissolve into air or become dust. The Sonoran Desert is densely populated. It's loud. It's extremely active, diverse, vibrant. Other deserts feel sparse and evacuated in comparison. The Sonoran Desert feels like a city, a bustling metropolis of species active around the clock. The Sonoran Desert has an all-over maximalist quality. A set of eyes peek out of every crevice, and plants create a thick blanket across the rocky terrain. It has the dense feel of a rainforest or a coral reef. There are snakes, birds, and insects literally everywhere. You are guaranteed to encounter wildlife, and as such, you must prepare for those encounters. Tread lightly and move with deference toward creatures of the sun. On the first few days of filming, I heard a distinctive rustle in my ear that appeared at first like an auditory hallucination. The sound of the rattlesnake's rattle, I was surprised to learn firsthand, feels more like a sound issued by the ear itself, a breakdown in cognition or hearing, than a signal from an external source. I thought my first encounter with a rattlesnake would be visual. I would see it on the trail and then take pains to avoid it. But the rattlesnake I encountered here employed a strategy common to cinema, the off-screen voice. what Pierre Schaeffer described as acousmet, like the voice of Pythagoras issued from behind a screen. The speaker maintains her invisibility to cultivate an aura of ubiquity, panopticism, omniscience, and omnipotence. In each instance, the rattle sounded within my ear, yet the rattlesnake was nowhere to be seen. The rattlesnake was everywhere, a voice from an immaterial and non-localized body. The most terrifying aspect of the off-screen voice is the knowledge that the one who is not in the visual field is in the best position to see you. The acousmatic rattlesnake is in your ear. It is in front of you, it is behind you, and it is beside you. It leaves you wishing for a snake encountered openly on the trail, one with a verifiable body, a location. I found a suitable production assistant to help me with this video, in the form of a king snake, who joined me on the 5th day of filming and reappeared each day thereafter. The king snake is a long snake marked by high contrast black and white bands that undulate as it moves. On first glance, the king snake appears to be made of video, composed of imperfect interlacing lines, the embodiment of a warped grid, aliasing across the earth, alternating between the cellular equivalent of black and white pixels. The king snake, I was horrified, but also somewhat relieved to learn, is a snake that eats other snakes. Its main target is the rattlesnake. King snakes are immune to the venom of other snakes, a quality that I wish that I possessed. With the appearance of a king snake on the scene, the rattling in my ear retreated. With the gentle king snake as production assistant, often found sunning below the tripod, I felt at ease, filming in the desert and knowing that off-screen voices would soon abate. This video was guarded and made possible by a snake that eats snakes. When a snake eats another snake, I imagine this snake within a snake like a nesting doll, a concentric series. Assisted by a snake composed of snakes, I continued filming solar cells with my photocell, capturing grids within a grid, a snake within a snake, with power gained and power lost in translation. Syzygy is a pair of connected or corresponding things, like animus and anima. Carl Jung used the term to denote a union of opposites. When applied to planetary movement, Syzygy refers to a conjunction or opposition, especially of the sun with the moon. A straight line configuration of 3 celestial bodies in a gravitational system. When the Earth blocks the sun from the new moon, leaving a dark shape in the sky, this is Syzygy. When a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse occurs, this is Syzygy. 3 things in a line, light, shadow, and the object or subject in between. I've always adored the term camera person for the one operating the camera. There is loss of quality, but often big gains in understanding when given access to a visual world that exists as a simplified mesh, generating new modes of attention. Learning to see as a machine sees has for me added a renewed love of precisely those colors impossible to recreate in video. The out-of-gamut territory of lived experience. The violets, ultraviolets, the array of colors delicious to the naked eye that lie outside the tidy sphere of RGB, red, green, blue color space. Another technical problem. Video does not like shadow. The exposure range is limited. In video, you have to choose what you see, definition in the light or definition in the shadow. But what is in the shadow often deserves our attention as much as what is in the light. It occurs to me that the shadow needs to enter the screen, much as the rattlesnake needs to become visible, assume a location, become no longer a myth. Shadow is the truest indicator of our relationship to the sun, a union of opposites through an intermediary, outlined by a yoke that holds three parts together. What is a camera person, if not the midpoint in a straight line configuration of three bodies, an intermediary between sun and subject? Light and shadow are often understood as a binary, but I would propose that this relationship is in fact tertiary. There is by necessity a third position, represented by the object that stands between the light and the shadow. The camera person casts a shadow framed off-screen to create the impression of a floating eye, a bodiless photoreceptor. Shooting into the sun captures the dazzling blindness of looking too closely at the source of life. Creatures of the sun keep the sun at their back, consuming the bounce back, the reflection of the world around them, in the form of moving images. Rejection, not projection. There is a body that trails a shadow, off-screen, just outside of video space. For me, there is a joy in encountering and attempting to understand something that is not human, that sees differently, that behaves according to another logic, or exists on a different time scale. Much effort is placed into understanding what it is to be human. But can we understand what it is to not be human? It's meaningful to attempt to see from a machine perspective, or from the perspective of a snake that eats snakes to become a new snake. Thank you.